Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment, and it is my honor, and I take this very seriously in welcoming our guests because I know that they are presenting two of the most precious commodities owned to them. The first is their time, and that is a precious commodity, and also their journey. That is something that is so wonderful and personal. And so it is my hope that here we are able to create a space by which our guests can feel comfortable to share so that you and I will learn to become the best human spirits while we're here on this planet. And it is my honor to have Diane come and visit us here at Threads of Enlightenment. Thank you so much for coming.
And Ken, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited about talking today.
I am too. I want you to tell them, like I said, guys, she's an author, she's a speaker, she's this and that. I want her to tell us all those things that you have created. And because those are things that you ought to be proud of, because those are manifestations of and from your journey. So talk to the people and let them know what you have created from your journey.
You are absolutely correct. I have manifested so much unseen and so much content. What I recognize is that I'm a teacher. Mm-hmm. I'm a coach. I am a person who helps people create the life they want. Why? Because I've been on a long, challenging, treacherous journey to create the life that I love and can embrace. I have people that, and this is the best time for me, I feel. Mm-hmm. in this journey because I've learned so much that I'm always excited to share. So I'm always teaching classes, coaching people in areas where they are stuck, where they're stuck and they can't move forward for one reason or another. And usually we start with the inside out because that's where the work is. And I educate people on that. I teach at a college where I teach personal growth, self-growth classes on how to work from the inside out in various stages. I teach online. I love bringing people together where we can just share our experiences. And I love to tell my stuff, my crazy life, my life that I wouldn't tell a soul many years ago. I feel that being transparent and honest and authentic has been the best way to inspire people to want to share and move past things where they're stuck.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that.
That manifests in a lot of ways.
That's why I wanted you to tell us what you have created. And what I here at Threads of Enlightenment, our custom, Diane, is to go back. We like to go back in what I call our first lab, and we call it the family. That is where we have these scientists that we call mom and dad that are now putting this thing together based on what they perceive that is true to them, their truth, and they are now depositing stuff in you. So talk to me about your experience in the family, versus the lab, as I say. But tell me about the family unit. How was that? How was your upbringing? And how did that begin to impart and create you?
Well, what I'll tell you is in that family, the first lab, I had two sisters from my mom and my dad, and I have another group of siblings, but I'll focus on this group because this is the first group that I knew. Yeah. I was very tall, and I always stood out because I was very tall. Yeah. So with that, I always felt out of place, not really fitting in. I did not realize that would be the moniker for my life because I never fit in. When the kids would play rope, nobody would pick me because I was clumsy. I was,
Yeah.
I wasn't good at I didn't feel I was good at anything, because that's the message I was getting, because I was so tall and uncoordinated and out of
Yeah.
place. So I grew up with it. I grew up with a single mom who worked hard with where she was in her life, even though it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So that part of her, I felt, really built strength in me to figure it out, because I didn't have anything to fall on. I always knew that.
Yeah.
It was up to me to create and get what I wanted out of life. So from that perspective, I always worked hard. Very optimistic person, because I'm working from nothing.
Yeah.
I have no uncle or cousin to call. Very focused. Even now my kids tease me. They call me Pit Bull because I get so focused on things. But I always share with them that was something I used to get through my life. I don't need it anymore. Yes. But that was something that really supported me in those times when I had to depend on me. In that unit, I had 3 sisters. By the time I was 19, one of my sisters was murdered in a mass shooting. Wow. So that part sent me into a deep depression that I didn't even know I had. Okay, all I knew was I wasn't happy. I was sad. I just didn't have that love and excitement side of it. Yeah. Didn't really understand at the time. So just going through life, doing the best I can. Yeah. Got married, had 2 children, but still very, very unhappy, and not being able to focus on college, focus on marriage. I'll be honest about that, in a way that I probably needed to be to make it long lasting. Yeah. Oh, wow. So I felt that the earlier part of my life was very traumatic and challenging, very traumatic and challenging. But there was always something inside of me. Like, I tell myself, I want to be happy, because around me, there was a lot of domestic violence. There was a lot of unhappiness. And I look around my life and I'm like, gosh, I want to be happy. I don't even know what that means, but that's what I want. Yeah. I want it. So that set me on my journey, because I didn't like where I was in my life inside and how I was. Like, I felt that there was a person that really wanted to love and to be happy, but I just couldn't figure out how to get that there. Going. And I knew how to get there. I had no clue, which is why I love what I do today, because I think a lot of people need that kind of help. So fast forward, I'm reading. I read books. There was no internet, social media, or anything like that. I read books. And when I listened to spiritual teachers, and when I read a book that interests me, I would attend a workshop. I would just really look in everywhere for support. And when something resonated with me, I would stay on that trail, because, oh my goodness, this is, I'm feeling lighter. I'm feeling better. And on that journey, I went to school to be a life coach on that journey. Wow. And I just felt like I had breakthroughs along the way. I went to school for behavior change. So I'm like, oh, wow, I can change, and it is real, I got a master's in spiritual psychology, which I told myself when I heard that word, oh my God, I can do some excavating now, because for some reason I wanted to really let go of those things that were holding me back. I knew they were holding. So that was what was interesting, that I just stayed on that path until I felt better and better and better, and lighter and lighter and lighter. And then there became a point where I would share. Yeah. I would share with people, not labeling myself as anything. I've always been that kind of person, share and help. Yeah. But never recognizing that the sharing and the helping could not only be of service, because that was a new word on my journey, serving. Serving myself and serving others. Yeah. But as you said earlier, I put all these things together, all these tools together, whether they're written down or verbal. or visual, so that I can not only support myself, but support other people in different ways.
Yeah. I love your stuff.
So I feel that
I love this. I'm listening. Go
so
ahead.
the first part of my life,
Yeah.
the first part of my life, I would tell you, I wasn't happy. You know, we were poor. I didn't have any, you know, I didn't have a lot of luxuries, but I didn't feel like I was hungry or anything. I just knew I didn't have a lot.
Yeah.
And that really wasn't, and it's interesting, I wasn't looking for that, you know, a lot of stuff. I was looking for how do I feel better and live a happy life? What does that look like? What does that look like? And I feel I'm still on it in some aspects, but I just went on a journey to figure that out. And as I evolved in my life, I did get lighter and lighter. My heart opened up because I felt that was really, that was shut down. And it really was, because I love in a way that makes me feel full and happy, instead of the love that was very conditional and transactional, which is what I learned when I was younger.
Yeah.
So now and that,
You have mentioned so much about the process of growing. One of the things that I believe, and I've said this 100 times on this podcast, that I believe that we form once there is a trauma in our life at a young age, however that trauma manifests, whether it's physical abuse, mental abuse, and all of the other things by which sometimes it's not even anything major, it's just something small. But we as little children interpret it, and we would make a decision and say, I am going to be different than that. I want this. And it's a quiet agreement that we make within ourselves, but it's a powerful agreement, because we then began to live from that place. We take this trauma and created a way by which we can live, manage it, deal with it. And as you said in the onset, you found out that you were doing something, and as you got older, you found out that, okay, it served me well then, I don't need it now. And so that's this whole journey that we get on. And I love that you talked about how you began to search, and the decision that you made that you didn't want to be like this. And I tell them, Doc, the reason why someone is stuck is because they haven't made their decision as yet. They don't know what they want. But as soon as they find an inclination of what they want, they will begin the corresponding actions to bring it to pass, just like you did. You began to study, you began to go to classes to find out what are the tools that I need to incorporate into my life to bring me this happiness that I want to be, this other that I want to be. And so I tell people, hurry up and make that decision, because that's why you haven't moved yet. Because the human being, the power that is us, is we need that decision, because once that decision is made, we can take from there. We usually take off. So here you are, you're accomplishing so much. You've mentioned so much, and you are going through and shedding these things. I want to go back, Doc, and talk about some of those things that you shed. Talk to me about some of those insecurities that you probably picked up from them picking on you because you're tall and all of these other things. I want you, because I listen to when someone speak with their conversation. So I can see you as a little girl having these insecurity being piled on based on the external aspect of you, but you're internalizing the comments, the things that they're saying. I want you to talk to me about some of that, and how did it make you feel, and because you're talking about you got a lot of healing. I want to know about some of them things, girl. So I want you to talk to us about some of those things that you got healed from, as far as that insecurity and others that you had to overcome.
Okay, so I think a big one was not having my dad consistent.
Yeah.
I did not have that male aspect of a relationship with a man for years, like a father. And I would say my dad was present, but not in a way where I could really get what I need,
Yeah.
from him as an individual child. Yeah, we had the group hugs, that kind of thing, but
Yeah. Yeah.
not individual things. So another part of that was I was yelled and screamed at a lot.
Wow.
So that caused me to not have a voice,
Yeah.
not feel like what I said didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
I did not matter what I had to say. I mean, I took that through my early life, even my early work life.
Wow.
So if just the idea of someone asking me a question and speaking and other people watching sent me swirling into with fear.
Wow.
But that was something I knew I had to overcome. So I really, and I always say you have to have courage.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is hard to work through a lot of this.
Yeah.
So in my workplace, when I was in I'd say late, there was an angel in the form of a man who was a manager of a department.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like he saw me. He saw me.
Yeah.
And he gave me a job in his department. This was at McDonnell Douglas in the early 80s. And I hadn't even finished my degree, but I had enough of wanting to change that I was in school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So him seeing me and putting me, like he would send me off to some type of workshop. And then when I came back, he would ask me to tell the group about it.
Yeah.
It's almost like he knew that part of me, at least I felt he did.
Yeah.
So he did. I think he might have realized it at the time because he was much older, that he really helped me work through it. I mean, the shaking, the nervousness of really speaking, shyness, using my voice. Nobody in the world believes that story, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
I really did not have a voice, and I felt I did not matter. And that was something I literally had to intentionally work and figure out and tell myself, I do matter. I do matter. And really find a way to love my height, to love all those things people said, you know, my big forehead, my bulging eyes, you know, all those things that people talk about, you know, that I internalized as a negative, but love those things about me and know that my uniqueness is what makes me great. I mean, I teach my grandson that right now.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it doesn't matter what people say.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't.
But I had a lot to work through. And growing up, like I said, and keep in mind, this was what I felt as a young person. My filter of I didn't have support. I had to earn my own money. And if I didn't have enough, that was it. You know?
And how did you? How did you manage with that? I know there's a degree of fear because you're going to have to deal with that too. How did you manage that fearfulness about the first is the fact that you feel that you're on your own and there's a degree of loneliness, if you will, but it can be a fearful place. How did you manage all of these? Because it is a stew that is being mixed up within your spirit as to your identity and all of these things. Talk to us about some of those tools, Diane, that you implemented once you identify what those things were and you named them. You got an opportunity here where this man saw it. And that was a major one to be giving you the platform by which you can face those fears on that level. Talk to me about some of the other things that you began to uncover as you kept going to these different places and reading and studying and all those things.
And reading and I saw people that were around me that I admired.
Yeah.
There were things that I would admire about them. So what I would do is connect on some level, like back then, like a mentor.
Yeah.
Or someone that I could just have a conversation with to just see how their mind worked. I mean, that's how I would do it. I would just go and talk to them because I'm like, wow. Because I would see aspects of their behavior or how they navigated themselves in life. And I really like that. You know, I if I was trying to do something, and this is the beautiful thing, doing it anyway through being scared. And I met people that supported me.
Yes.
I got to see people who were doing things that I wanted to do.
Yes.
That was so supportive, so supportive. I got to see how people, put a career together. I got to witness those things. So it was me working through that fear, getting to know people, stepping out of that shyness.
Yes.
And learning to communicate. And along the way, I met friends. Always had friends who were doing better than me.
Yeah.
And when I say that, they were more comfortable. So I always consciously, my whole life, picked people like that.
That is awesome. Awesome.
That I could learn from and talk to. Didn't really realize that was some kind of game plan.
Yeah.
But that's just how I navigated. But also, my other friend, some relationships would end.
Yes.
They would, not because things were bad, but because I just always felt I was on a journey, and believe me, I try to drag everybody along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it just doesn't
work. No. It doesn't.
I would really try to drag everybody along in my life. So also accepting that it is an individual journey. Yes. And I love those people that I love that are not coming with me.
Yeah.
I can still be with those people and accept the fact that this is my journey, and it's okay if they're not with me. That was a big one. Because that involves family, that involves, but when I look at it as a child, I stuck out. I still stick out. Yeah. But it's in a way that others can embrace, and I can embrace and share and just be who I am and loving every minute of it.
That is a powerful life and place to be in life and in living, that you have gone through the journey. And as I stated on the onset before the podcast, we are given the honor and the privilege to get a chance to find out who we are, to learn to love ourselves, to learn to not judge ourselves, to learn to accept ourselves. All of the things that we now do and live from when someone presents in our space, we are able to love them now at a deeper level because I love me. I'm able to now empathize with them because I have learned to be with me. And all of the other things that we learn, the character, you've learned to trust yourself so that I can learn to trust other people. These are all the things that you live from and that you're able to be able to do as you meet an individual. And that is powerful. It is sweet because you're not judging them. You understand, and you have given them the space for them to just be. And that is a powerful place to live from. I mean, Diane, that is absolutely beautiful to hear your journey as you're coming through. So you have gained and learned all of these things, these principles, and you learn one of the most important ones, that this journey sometimes is just for you and not everyone else. So you have to learn this to when someone presents who they are in your life. So I want you to talk to me now, because here you are, you're gaining all kinds of stuff, girl. You get this wisdom coming on. And then there's this thing called, you got to a place where you've gone to all these things. Now I want you to talk to me when that baby that is residing within your being is just sitting there, and someone may have said, hey, why don't you put that in a book? Talk to me about that child that you had. How was that child, that seed planted, and what was the circumstances with that, and how did you give birth to that child?
The child that was on that journey?
No, that child that you wrote that book, because that was sitting inside there for years. I know that most of us, we don't even think that we can write. We don't think, half of us don't believe we could speak, write, spell, nothing. And then next thing you know, we were writing a book.
Well, I never thought of myself as an author or even someone that writes articles. And I used to say that I'm not a writer, but like you said, I could talk about my life.
Yeah.
I could talk about that. So the book came out of the person that's stuck, and we're stuck for many reasons. The book came out of a class that I taught for 10 years called Jumpstart Your Life, because I help people look at their lives. We walk through like 10 different exercises. You look at your life, you look at your whole life, all the aspects of your life, and you hone in on the two aspects that you really want to change.
Yeah.
And we take those two aspects and we look at the priorities of our lives. How are you spending time? Because if your actions aren't aligning with your goals and what you want, you are spinning your wheels. It's never going to happen. So helping people to draw that connection, and then working on visualizing what that life would look like. And I would tell my students, and in the book, look at it in the present tense. It's happening now. And writing about that. And then from that writing, let's pull out some affirmations that we can use, that we can write down and put on our refrigerator, that will remind us every day of what we basically. And from that, you write the affirmations, and from that you write a plan, 2 realistic steps for executing that plan. And then I have a disaster recovery plan. What happens if you fall off or you don't do it, how to get back on the wagon. Celebrating small things. Celebrating is not just something huge that happens. It's important to celebrate along the way, and I talk about that. Also in the book, and I forgot in the beginning, I go through a chapter on self-love, because what I've learned and what I still learn is we need permission to just love ourselves, to just focus on ourselves, to just I tell my students, and in the book, for the next 3 hours, just let go of any barriers, anything. Let's tell ourselves that we have nothing stopping going through this, because most of us, and you're helping me. It's really interesting because I am connecting the book with my childhood. I had never thought about it in that regard. I'm going to be honest, but it's how do we let go of those things that were in the way and really show up and know that there's a lot inside of us that needs to come out to help us. And what I didn't share earlier is there was also I had a lot of therapy, because there was, my sister passing away really forced me to go even deeper, deeper throughout my lifetime on what life means, what death, what love really, really enables. So that was another component on top of everything else.
Dealing with the mortality of who we are, and the fact that at any time we can be taken away, or we can be removed.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think.
And here's the beautiful thing.
Go ahead. Diane.
This is what I'm experiencing now. Right now in my life is when I'm older, people are passing away. Yes, I'm sad, but I can feel that I don't have to be afraid of that. And I'm wondering, I'm like, wow, is all that experience allowing to really embrace this part of life and death? It's just interesting right now.
It is. I think it is. I remember there's a ancient technique that the Asian population would do. They would have you lay down and visualize your death. And the purpose of the exercise is to take away the fearfulness of it. But I feel this way, that all through our lives, as we walk through our personal growth, we are fearful of the unknown, even while we're alive, in the sense that we are in a space and time in our life, and maybe we're not happy with the job. And many of us don't know that there's another choice. You don't have to be there. But a lot of them don't even think about it, that they have to be there. And those who do, there's a level of fearfulness to move beyond the unknown. And I think that's just how it is. Going to the spiritual, I believe that the body keeps you and I here legally as citizens of this realm. And when we release the body, we are no longer citizens of this realm. We are citizens of all the realms. We are able to go and into different aspects and different dimension that we cannot visit at that degree because we are housed here. We are legal here. And as you were talking about some of the things that you were teaching in class, you remind me, my background, Diane, is church. I came out of church. And as you were talking about instructing your students, I was reminded of Genesis, where here God comes and he looks at this mess, but he has a plan, and he wants he wants to put this man on this mess. It's a big mess, and he looks and he says, you know what? I'm going to need some light. And so he begins to be specific in the desire that he had and need of. And you and I have to do the same thing. We have to be very specific in what we want. We have to visualize it because he visualized it, because he said, I want to make this man. And so he had in his vision, in his mind, what that world looked like. And he began to create that world. And you mentioned that the part of celebrating the accomplishment. And as I was reading those words, it says, every time he was finishing one day, he says, yeah, this is good. He was celebrating, you know? And so he celebrated every single day. And then the last day, after he got finished, he went on a long break. He went on a vacation. He said, I'm going to relax a little. This is all good. He says, I'm going to relax. Because why? Because it was finished. He created this thing that was inside him, and he was able to house what he wanted. That is how you and I are made and designed, and we cannot help it. But if we haven't made a decision, the Bible makes a statement. He says, decide a thing in Job, and it shall be established. And so once they make their decision, they will do the corresponding actions that is necessary to manifest. That is the principle, day in, day out. And this walk that you talked about, you cannot embark on the journey of self-development without courage. It is impossible. The courage that it takes to face yourself is what you need. After you face you, you can face me.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, if you can't face you, you can't love me. If you don't love you, you cannot, in all honesty, love me, because you don't know what it is.
I can only love you equal to the level that I self.
Exactly. You can't, and this is why I try to say to people, you cannot love me if you don't know what it is. And love can be seen, because if I'm looking at you and I can see how you treat yourself, you know, how do you treat yourself? How do you let people engage with you? And when I went on my journey, Diane, I fell in love with this beautiful man that was imperfect, was a mess. And I would kiss myself and tell my friends, even today, will tell you that I did this. My kids would do that, telling, I just love you, Ken Primer. You are the sweetest thing I know. And I would walk myself and talk to myself. And as I began to understand and accept me, I was able to love my children deeper. I was able to express myself deeper and not superficial. And once I began to be honest with, I can then be honest. It is a beautiful walk. So here you are, you're teaching, and I can see the joy that is in your face when you talk about it. But I want you now to pull a couple of those stories, Diane, some of those students that were in that space that are stuck, that once you engage and you had the class and you began to open to them these worlds that are within them. Talk to me about a couple of them that when they recognized and they saw who they were, what did they do? How did they react? And how did you react? And what was the outcome?
I think one of the reasons I love teaching this class is because people do have revelations about things that they were very unconscious about. One lady I talk about sometimes as she's going through the class, because the 3 hours you really get to focus on, that's probably the only 3 hours that you've taken in many years,
Yeah.
just to set the stage. Literally started crying.
Wow.
Because when we were talking about priorities and she just started crying because she said she never, ever, she has a husband, she has kids, and that's used a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she just never looked at how, all her time is full of driving into work, working, her kids, her husband, and nothing was for her.
Wow.
And then she had this connection of maybe this is why, I'm not feeling well. I have this fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
She connected to the well-being of her mind and her body, basically. And I just gave her the space to just talk about that.
Yeah.
Talk about that connection that she made. And I encouraged her as she walked. And that's the beauty of looking at your life, of 2 things in her life that she really liked to change or improve.
Yeah.
And take those themes and really lay them out. And by the end, you have and when I say plan, it's really ideas for a practice, ideas for how do I create and fill in this gap that I have? Where am I in picture? And creating that picture and walking away with some ideas and plans on how to put her in. And that takes courage.
Yes.
Because now you have to set boundaries.
Yes.
And I teach that class too.
Yes.
You have to set boundaries for these people that don't want you to change or even see yourself.
Yes.
Not that they don't love you, they're just not conscious on that level, but now you are.
Yes.
So that's another class where we walk through and talk about that.
Yeah. The programming, the manifestation.
So the programming and another interesting theme or group are people whose children have left college or grown up or whatever.
Yeah.
It's now we have this space, and what do I do with that? And couples come in, but I encourage them to be individuals in the assignment.
Yes.
Not sit together and write out the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to encourage that. And what's so beautiful about that is they learned things that day about it because they were thinking on individual and they got to hear each other, So that is beautiful in itself because that couple gets to have 2 separate assignments or visualizations.
Yeah.
And guess what? I didn't know you thought that way. I didn't know that's what you wanted. I think it's the most beautiful thing. So now you get to write your visualization and the actions and goals to support that visualization and celebrate. You can celebrate together, but you're celebrating as an individual. So that is a common attraction to the class, or caregivers, people whose children have grown up, middle-aged people who are too busy to even take time for those that are attractive to me. And that kind of...
Yeah, that is awesome. Those are the type of people that need it. So I believe that because of who you are, the energy that you send out will call those that are in need. And I think because we are spiritual beings within, and our words are part of that spiritual language, that when we speak it, connect it from there, that it is a powerful force that goes out, whether it's typed and whether people are reading your words or whatever it is. It's designed to go in and to cause an emotional response. And it will call those people and bring them to you because you have, and they also are seeking. And so they're sending out this energy and you're sending that out. And somehow people will say stuff like, I don't know how I got here. One of my friends told me about this, or I read this here, and not understanding the principle that it's this force that is calling each other because they need something and you have something to offer to give them the information. And most of it, Diane, is simply they don't take the time to ask the question. And you will come in and start asking those questions. And I say to people, why does a coach ask the question because they know, because they've gone through, and these were the questions that they asked to move them from where you are today to where they are today. And so they will ask you those
Right.
questions. And after they're finished, you're going to look at them and say, I never thought of asking myself that question. You know, they never did but you have, because you were there. And so I'm so honored.
Yes.
Anyone that is listening to us, I want you guys to get into this woman's family, get into her community, the whole life wellness community. Get in touch with her, get her book, buy it and give it to family, friends, give it to everyone, because we all need to be a part of this whole life wellness, because that's what we are supposed to be doing and living while we're here on this planet, so that we can become the best human spirits and just have a blast with each other, learning from each other, and experiencing joy with each other. Diane, I want to thank you for coming and serving such a delicious dish that we can enjoy this conversation today.
Ken, I've really, in a special way, really been an awesome time.
Thank you.
Thank you.